Hey everyone, welcome to Throwback Thursday.
Throwback Thursday.
The show where each week we each cover either a movie or movie series that we want to shed some light back on, to shine the light on.
Sometimes it's shining the light on. Sometimes it's because of what's relevant in the news today, or what's about to come out.
Yeah, no hiding that.
But yeah, it's just sometimes fun to go back, and a lot of you haven't seen these films, and so it's just a little bit of information on them to get you maybe fired up to go and watch it. So
yeah, it might be some new trivia that you've either forgotten about or haven't heard about, and none of this stuff is groundbreaking, but it's interesting.
Some of it is.
Okay.
Some of it is. Maybe not today, but sometimes.
Having said that, my movies this week, actually I did double Addams Family and Addams Family Values. They kind of go package deal. If you're going to see one, you might as well see both of them. And they're, I think they're a good complementary set. I mean, there's not like one that's hugely better than the other. They're just both good to watch. So Addams Family came out in 1991. It was made by Ryan Pictures before they went bankrupt. They sold it to Paramount because they thought they had a huge flop on their hands because the budget had gone from $5 million all the way up to $30 million. And it was also set to release against some other movies that they just thought it wasn't going to play against at all or going to be dominated by. This movie's starring Angelica Houston, Raul Julia, Christina Ricci, and Christopher Lloyd is the main stars that we know, and even Ricci was at the time an unknown, but just more looking backwards. She's kind of gone to the top of the list on that. The basic plot is Uncle Fester is missing, comes back, but with amnesia and is trying to scam the family before he kind of remembers who he is, and kind of throws off the people that have been playing him. Because the Addams family has a massive fortune, which I think the Forbes list one time put them at a worth of about $2 billion. So they're pretty well off family.
Yeah,
they can afford this kooky lifestyle.
Yeah.
This was based in part also of the 1964 TV series and also the original cartoon by Charles Addams from before that. The stories from the production of it were, there's a rough production. There's several people going to the hospital, getting sick, people quitting. They had to tape Angelica Houston's eyes to kind of make them all go up, which gave her kind of migraines. And if she turned too quickly, the little tape would snap, and they'd have to redo it all. So that's why you see her doing a lot of full body turns.
Yeah, full body robotic turns.
Yep. It was actually opening up against Hook, and everyone thought Hook was going to be the big movie of the weekend and dominate. But Hook, while it did well, Addams Family did a lot better. $30 million budget, it made $191 million. So it was solid for everyone. Paramount was like, we bought the right one.
Yeah.
And Orion Pictures was like, all right, chapter 13, where are we?
Yeah.
Rotten Tomatoes is 64%, and audience's cinema score of a B, as well liked by the audiences at the time. A little side note, it also spawned the pinball machine, which remains the best-selling pinball machine of all time.
I've never played that pinball machine, actually.
If I have, it's forgotten because pinball machines,
They're awesome.
They're awesome, but I don't specifically remember any differences between any of them.
Dude, they're all 1,000 times different than each other. You're crazy. Up at my work, we have the Back to the Future pinball machine. It's fantastic.
That one I do remember. The original story ending was to have Christopher Lloyd's character Fester, which means to rot, actually not be the real Fester and still be part of the con artist. The cast and crew revolted and talked at the time 10-year-old Christina Ricci into going to the producers and telling them that they need to change it.
That's awesome.
Was nominated for an Oscar for costume design, did not win, but it's an Oscar-nominated movie.
Yeah. Well, and honestly, Addams Family, I mean, you can look at it and say it's campy and it's cheesy, it's this, that, and the other. It's raw,
but it embraces it.
Fun.
It embraces
It's just so fun. And like I said, I've said this before, relationship goals, oh my God. Gomez and Morticia, their relationship is so incredibly fun to watch. Those two actors nail it.
Yeah.
They
wanted him to for the whole Latin lover kind of feel to it, which he did great at.
Yeah, and it's just so much fun to watch. And it's and I find myself, you don't even question, the whole fact. It's okay, is she a vampire or is she a witch? Is he a
Vira knockoff?
Yeah, is he human, or is he what is he in comparison to everything else? Because you don't
need to, just have fun with it.
Yeah, but it's you don't start thinking about any of that. You don't care because you're just looking at these characters, how they relate with each other, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. And Wednesday's full name?
I used to, and it's been so long since I've done a trivia night, I can't remember.
Wednesday, Friday, Addams.
Addams, that's right, yep.
And for most other international versions, when they do the translations, they translate it into whatever that language's version of Wednesday is.
Yeah.
And she's named after the nursery rhyme, Wednesday Child Full of Woe.
Okay.
Very deep there.
Yeah.
They then fast-tracked to the sequel on this one because, money.
Yeah.
And
It's cash grab. Cash grab.
Came out with Addams Family Values in 1993 on a budget of $47 million. It made $48 million, which is why you didn't see Addams Family 3.
Addams Family 3, yes.
But the critic scores were actually stronger for the sequel. Rotten Tomatoes went up to 75, and the cinema score was up to a B+. So it was actually considered a stronger movie. But critically, and also audiences thought it was too. It just didn't make the money. It was opening, and then the second weekend it was opening against Mrs. Doubtfire.
Yeah. Oh man, what is it about them opening up against Robin Williams?
That was just bad luck.
That was just bad luck. Yeah.
This one also had Joan Cusack in it as Fester's wife that was trying to swindle everyone.
Uh-huh.
And then she sent the kids, Pugsley and Wednesday, to summer camp, which was some of my favorite scenes in the whole thing. She's just so sadistic. It was great. The deadpan delivery was one of my favorite things about it. And she's actually listed in a lot of lists as the best characters or best comedic characters or best even horror characters, just because of the kind of genre it lends itself to. Also was Oscar nominated for art direction. Did not win, but and then that was it for the main series. They came out with the direct-to-video Addams Family Reunion in the later 90s, starring Tim Curry and Daryl Hannah, which didn't blow anyone's hair in the wind at all. And they used it to jumpstart another TV show, which only lasted one season. And also between the two main movies, there was also a animated show that ran for 2 seasons during those 2 years as well. So it was a big Addams Family revival during that time.
Yeah. Then
there's a stage production, and now we have the movie coming out this coming weekend.
Yeah.
The Addams Family, which has a lot of big name cast in it too. The Thing.
Yes.
Was originally back in the 60s show, behind a curtain or just coming out of a box because the limitations of the technology at the time. And it actually came up to almost the elbow is what they showed. When they did these two movies, they cut it off just kind of right above the wrist or right at the wrist, and CG to remove the actor's hand.
Yeah.
And originally it was the original idea on the thing was meant to be connected to this monster that couldn't be shown, so it only showed his hand, and then it evolved to kind of being a disembodied hand, which is kind of more of a servant to the family than anything else. Also one of the fan favorite characters. But yeah, I'm looking forward to watching these two movies again this Halloween season with the kids and going to see the new one.
Yeah.
It was just good fun back then. I enjoyed them. I've been actually did rewatch one of them recently, the first one recently, and it was just kind of stepping back about 20-25 years to a little bit more of the childhood. I thought it aged pretty well too. I mean, it's still kooky.
Like I said, I still like watching Morticia and Gomez interact with each other. It just cracks me up. In their first film, where they're in the auction hall and they're trying to outbid each other, and they're just bidding money just for the heck of it because it's turning each other on, and they're just all over each other, and everybody's sitting there just super uncomfortable. I'm like, relationship goals, bro. I love it.
My favorite, I think, quote from the movies is Wednesday Addams have a little lemonade stand. And
made from real Girl Scouts. Yeah.
Yeah, they're the Girl Scout comes up. She's like, "Is it made from real lemonades?" And then doing some Girl Scout cookies. Are they made from real Girl Scouts?
Yeah.
Just deadpan. I loved it.
Yeah, it's great. All right, well, for my Throwback Thursday, I decided to kind of keep it in the genre of kind of something that's going on in the box office, as we got the Joker, which is a rated R comic book movie. And so I decided to go way back. I say way back to 1998 with Blade. A lot of people kind of forget that Blade was a comic book movie, and that it's considered by almost everybody to be the first Marvel movie. Now, there was other stuff that came out before that.
Major successful that showed how it could be done in a realistic, modern manner. I mean, Howard the Duck was a Marvel movie,
yes,
but come on.
Yeah. But Blade, it came out in 1998. It was made for $45 million. It made $70 million U.S. It made over 131 million worldwide, so it was a big hit.
Yeah.
It was kind of mixed reviews. The people that loved it and a lot of people that hated it. but it had a really good cast. Wesley Snipes and Chris Christopherson, who I don't see him in enough anymore. It's like he is such a great actor, and I wish I saw him in more stuff.
Oh, he was old then.
Yeah, true. And then it's Stephen Dorff, who is actually in one of your favorite films of all time, The Power of One.
Right.
And he's an actor who is a very good actor who's been very picky about what he's done in Hollywood, but he played the villain in this, and he did an excellent job. It also had a short little cameo from Tracy Lords.
Legit acting.
Legit acting.
And not, I'm here to fix the cable acting.
Yeah, and this movie, he plays, I think the correct phrase for it is a dhampir, which is a vampire, a human with vampire powers and none of their weaknesses. So he has the strength, he's immortal, but he can be in the sunlight.
Okay.
He's a dhampir, if I'm saying that correctly. If not, I'm sure I'll get corrected.
I can imagine the comments now. It's pronounced. I'm like reading it. I'm like, I'm still pronouncing it the same way.
This movie, it really showed everybody that a comic book movie could be done and it would be successful. Like, there's been comic book movies before, like you said, but this movie was one that was a legit hit. It made a lot of money. It did really well. It had big name actors and they played the roles well. It's considered one of Wesley Snipes' best roles. It's one of his favorite roles that he's done. He
got to be over the top.
Yeah, he really enjoyed being the character. And it was R-rated, and that was a big thing. Because even now, you don't see a lot of these movies go R-rated. This showed that you could have a R-rated comic book film, and that it would pull enough people to the theater to make money. Because one of the big fears is that if it's not PG-13, not enough, it cuts down how many kids will be able to come and watch it, and you're not going to make as much money. Which, honestly, folks, is really why a lot of the comic book movies are PG-13. Though you might, like, a lot of fans really want it to be rated R, it's all about money.
Yeah.
But this movie did very well enough it spawned two sequels, which would be Blade 2 and Blade Trinity, which ended up bringing a lot of really good people to the cast. You had Norman Reedus, who came out of that. Jennifer Beal was in that series. Ryan Reynolds, obviously. And that was one of his first comic book films. He ended up going ahead and doing the Wolverine movie, which is where he fell in love with Deadpool and spent the rest of his time jockeying to get a real Deadpool movie made after they botched it.
This is like one of the first big roles after Van Wilder, wasn't it?
It was. This was his first, if you want to call it a serious role. Everything before this was real slapstick comedy stuff for him, which let's just be honest, his delivery, he's great at that stuff, which is why he's good at Deadpool. But he actually... he plays this character great. Mm-hmm. I mean, he has some comedy and wit to him, but it's a serious role. And Ryan Reynolds can play a real good serious role. He's done it several times. You just don't see him play that character as often.
Right.
But the movie actually had...
See, Parker Posey.
Yeah, Parker Posey was in it. Triple H. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of people that ended up in the series. And the thing is, they all were good. I mean, there's not like really one that stands out. If anything, I would say the second and third movies were actually better than the first.
Well, let me think about this for a second. The second one I thought was the best. I thought the third one, getting into the whole Dracula thing, was a little awkward. And then the first one, I think the worst part about it was if they could update the CG and especially in the end fight.
The end fight.
Because that dates it so bad.
Yeah, the end fight was really bad. It wasn't... For the time, it wasn't. For
the time, it was like, oh my god.
Yeah, at the time, it was cool. Nowadays, the CG is so-so. But back then, yeah, it was really good. The second one, in my opinion, you're right, is the favorite. The third one, it was just fun. And I mean, and I would argue it might have been a better movie than the first. But overall,
I think the production got a little heated on that one. That's when Wesley Snipes refused to talk to the director and just handed him Post-it notes signed Blade.
Yeah, that was a rough film, and I'll be honest, Wesley Snipes shooting in those films, there's a lot of controversy in those films when they were made. I mean, for instance, I'm a big fan of Ryan Reynolds. I like the guy a lot, and he's really well known for being a family man and an honest man, and so when he doesn't really badmouth Wesley Snipes much, but there has been a lot of talk about their antics on the shooting, and he was even once asked if he would ever think about doing a Blade movie with Wesley Snipes again. He's like, I would rather shoot myself than do that again, put myself through that again. So yeah, I mean, but at the time, I think Wesley Snipes has matured a lot, and I think
he had some time where he was a resident of the county.
Yeah, and I think we've seen, of recent, like just his whole reaction with the Blade recasting. There's a lot of fans out there that were like, you can't make a Blade movie without Wesley Snipes. I totally disagree. I think the casting on the new Blade is fantastic. He's a great actor.
Wesley Snipes was phenomenal, but it's time to... I think in the spirit of the MCU, it needs to now be passed on.
Yeah, and those movies, go and watch them. I mean, you need to watch these films. They're fantastic. Wesley Snipes does a great job. I just feel like in the new MCU, if they're going to redo a Blade film, you don't want to... I mean, if you redo a Fantastic Four film, you're not going to bring back the old Fantastic Four. I mean, you know what I mean? You don't bring back those old actors,
Well, they bring out Chris Evans as the Human Torch?
Yeah, right? I mean, no. So, but... Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that. I feel like it was definitely... But whenever that was recast, the fans were all that. He made his comments like, hey, I think this guy's going to do a great job. I'm really in support of it, I want
to jump in on a second on kind of like the progression of comic book movies to show, I think, where this really stands in. Because it all started when... No, Superman, basically. Before that, you're campy and a whole different thing. As far as modern comic book movies... I think you can trace it back to Superman as restarting the interest in it on a big level, on a big blockbuster level. Now, those were campy. They were definitely not the best movies, but they restarted the interest in the comic book movie. And I'm going to skip over like some cheesy ones throughout the 80s, like the Howard the Duck and stuff like that. I'm talking about ones that actually got us from there to here. After that, then the success of Superman led Warner Brothers to get the rights to doing Batman. And then that had some delays, came out in 89. Massive hit, but still very much a comic book feel to it as opposed to like, real modern world kind of thing. But it was a massive hit and showed it could be done. Batman Returns was right on the heels of that, very good. Then you had the other two Batman Schumacher movies, which took it back to the campy roots again. Then, so at that point, the only thing that kept the momentum towards modern superhero movies going, Spawn showed a very dark, they could do it in a very dark way, and also you can have people of color in the cast. And then we had Blade, the first black superhero movie, not Black Panther.
Yeah, well, that has to be a little insulting. That's the biggest thing, is when everybody was like, oh, Black Panther's the first black superhero. I'm like, well, first
in the MCU.
In the MCU, still not the first black superhero.
Lead.
Oh, first lead.
Otherwise, you're talking about War Machine.
Yeah, but I was like, there's other, and that's one of the things that has always irritated me, though. It's like, but yeah, he was the first lead in MCU, but yeah, Blade was the first.
Yeah,
and then you could even argue Spawn was before that.
But also, that's not Marvel, though.
Yeah, it's not Marvel. And Spawn, was that released? That was released in
96,
96. So yeah, it would have been first. Now, Spawn wasn't as big of a hit either.
Right, but it showed the heavy use of CGI and showed it could be done, and that you could do a comic movie that people wanted to go see.
Yeah, I would like to see a new Spawn film.
Have you gone back and rewatched the old Spawn movie? It's hard.
Yeah, it's rough.
Yeah.
But
at the time, it's fantastic.
But you know what is still fantastic is the story. And that's the thing, is Spawn, like all those characters, Jim Lee and Todd McFarlane, all those guys, they all worked for Marvel. And they were Marvel guys. And there was a lot going on, which I won't get into all the issues back in the day and the arguments that were going on in-house. And they all branched off to open up their own company called Image, and they all left. And they created a whole new series of comics, which most of those characters and stuff I feel like have fallen by the wayside. Most people could care less about a lot of those characters. But Spawn, McFarlane's creation, was a big hit at the time. And the movie kind of got made because of that. That being said, the movie's really rough to watch now, but go back and watch the animated series.
Oh, yeah, fantastic.
The animated series is still just blows my mind. And you think about when that came out. That was like crazy to have a cartoon like that in the 90s. And I mean, I would love to, even if they just redid the animated series, to see them redo an animated series like that, on Netflix or something, where you get a good solid 12 episodes and then run about 2 or 3 seasons of that. That would be fantastic.
Then to finish off my little story, circling back in, Blade came out and showed it could all be done. and that's when X-Men then came out,
Yep.
and Spider-Man, and the rest is
Spider-Man.
history. Now I skipped over some other movies. There's the comic movies like I keep going back to Howard the Duck because it's so just an obvious example, but of the cheesy way of doing it, or the campy way of doing it. Then there's other comic book movies that were phenomenal that were just, and even cult classics, but that just didn't spark this like blockbuster craze like The Crow.
Yeah, The Crow, and then there was even like in the early '80s there was a Punisher film with Dolph Lundgren, and I mean it was kind of cheesy, but for the time it was a good movie.
Yeah.
I still love the opening sequence where it's like it was at the beginning of a Biohazard song. They actually used the whole sequence where he's talking, and it's very dark, and it wasn't a bad film. It had a bunch of ninjas and Dolph Lundgren as the Punisher beating the crap out of people,
And then there's other comic book movies that were yes, they started their life as comic books, but the movie was not about the comic book or really billed as that, and the general audience never even knew that they were comic book movies, like Men in Black. That was billed as a Will Smith sci-fi vehicle.
Yes.
They wouldn't really say like, oh, check out the comics. It like most people still don't know what it's based on.
There's a lot of stuff like that, like being a comic book nerd and somebody that reads a lot of graphic novels and things. There's a lot of stuff that comes out that, of course, you fans and a lot of fans out there know this stuff, but there's a lot of people that don't. Like I remember when Watchmen came out, and people being like, "Oh, have you heard of this?" I'm like, "Yeah, I read it years ago."
Yeah, Watchmen, V for Vendetta.
Yeah, V for Vendetta is a good one. 300. Even stuff like Hellboy. There's like people that don't realize that Hellboy is a comic. Like yes, it is. But there's a lot of stuff out there. Red with Bruce Willis. That's actually a comic book series. So there's a lot of stuff out there that's like comes from that people don't realize it. But yes, the mainstream comic universes of like DC and Marvel, all that kind of started with Superman and through Batman, but I really feel like Blade was the tipping point.
Yes.
Kind of like
a big tipping point that then tipped to even bigger ones with X-Men and Spider-Man.
Yes, and then the same thing like how Sopranos, in my opinion, was the tipping point for television. It changed everything from the point where main movie stars did not want to be on television. They only do main big
there's only
pictures.
like a tier level.
Yeah, big pictures, and then all of a sudden all your actors now want to be on television because that's where the good scripts are at.
Good scripts, the exposure, good money.
Yeah. So
and it's not a ding on your... Before, it used to be like, went from television, graduate to the movies. And then if you had to go back to television afterwards, it was almost like a demotion or your career's waning.
It's really funny how all that's changed,
completely
too.
Almost reversed.
It's almost reversed. And
now it's a risk to go on movies because if it doesn't work and you're in a flop, it can hurt you all across the board.
All the way across the board. And also, like, it used to be a big thing, you never did commercials. And, like, Samuel L. Jackson, he's like, that's stupid. It's easy money. He does the
as long as it's done right.
Yeah, he does the credit card commercials, and he's in Marvel. Why wouldn't you capitalize on that money and take that money while you can? Doing a commercial doesn't hurt your career.
Now, if you're doing something silly like check out the new soap I use, like you see those cheesy ones back in the day, then I get that. But a lot of the stars would actually go to other countries to do commercials over there because they never get released here.
Yeah.
So they get the money, but it doesn't hurt their image.
Yeah, it didn't hurt their image. But nowadays there's a lot less of that. I mean, there's a lot of things that changed over time.
Now we get the Bill Murray's doing Make It Centauri time.
Well, folks, we're going to wrap it up and use the rest of this for another day. But thanks for watching Fan Talk, and don't forget to like and subscribe.
See you next time.
Throwback Thursday!